Stardust Renegade. The Stardust Renegade shuddered as I cut through the Carillion asteroid field at speeds that would make most pilots soil their flight suits. But I wasn't most pilots. Never had been. Captain Daxos, your trajectory is exceeding safety parameters by approximately 340%. Val 5's mechanical voice echoed through my cockpit. When have I ever cared about parameters? I replied, banking hard to avoid a chunk of space rock twice the size of my ship. The blue tint of my hands stood out against the control yoke, the unmistakable mark of my Seridian heritage, the same heritage that had cost me everything. Just calculating the odds of survival, currently at 63%, Val continued. I grinned despite myself. Better than yesterday. The truth was, I needed this delivery job, credits were running low, and information didn't buy itself. 3 years of searching for the pure Helix leadership had emptied my accounts and filled my database with dead ends. As Nexus 9 came into view, a sprawling trading post welded onto a hollowed-out asteroid, I slowed the Renegade to approach velocity and transmitted my clearance codes. Codes I'd paid handsomely for. Freelancer ship, proceed to Dock 12, the controller instructed, sounding bored. I landed with practiced precision and powered down the engines, leaving only essential systems running. The Renegade wasn't much to look at, a decommissioned Vex 7 fighter with modifications that would make a military engineer either impressed or horrified, but she was home. Lock up behind me, I told Val as I secured my blaster in its holster and pulled up my hood. Nexus 9 assaulted the senses, a riot of species, smells, and sounds. I kept my head down, hood shadowing my face as I navigated the crowded corridors toward the cargo exchange. The package I'd risked my neck for was small but valuable. Biological samples from the outer colonies, destined for research that I didn't ask questions about. The exchange was quick. Credits transferred to my account with a satisfying chime from my wrist terminal. As I turned to leave, a message pinged through, encrypted, marked with Nira's signature scramble pattern. I ducked into a quiet alcove and decoded it. Lyra, pure Helix officer spotted on Ceres station, high-ranking, sending details now, stay sharp. My heart raced as the data packet unfolded, then froze when I saw the face. Commander Rex Tovar, my mentor, the man who taught me everything I knew about flying, the man who disappeared the night of the coup. Val, I subvocalized into my comm, prepare the ship, we're heading to Ceres. That would be inadvisable, Captain. Val replied in my earpiece. Your profile is flagged in Ceres Station's security protocols. Then we'll have to be creative. I was so distracted that I didn't notice the group of traders until I'd walked straight into their circle. 3 humans, purebloods by their looks, with the insignia of Helix Prime Trade Guild on their jackets. Watch where you're... One started, then stopped as my hood slipped back slightly. His eyes narrowed. What do we have here? A blue skin trying to pass. My fingers itched to reach for my blaster, but I restrained myself. Shooting people was bad for business, especially here. Just passing through, I said evenly, trying to step around them. The largest one blocked my path. Don't see many Seridian half-breeds these days. Most got cleansed from civilized space. He smirked. For good reason. Move, I said simply. Or what, aberration? What happened next wasn't strictly necessary, but it felt good. I moved with the enhanced reflexes that were my birthright, another reason pure Helix hated hybrids. My foot connected with his knee at precisely the right angle to dislocate it, and as he crumpled, I had his own knife at his throat before his friends could react. Next time, pick a fight with someone who can't rip out your windpipe before you blink, I whispered, then released him and walked away, leaving him cursing and his friends stunned. Back at the Renegade, I studied Tovar's file more carefully. He was scheduled to meet with Ceres officials in less than 18 hours. Whatever the reason, I needed to be there. Val, plot a course to Ceres Station. Maximum burn. Calculating, Val replied. Captain, may I inquire about your plan once we arrive? I stared at Tovar's image, the man who'd once told me I was the finest pilot he'd ever trained. The man who might have betrayed every hybrid on Helix Prime. I'm going to find out which side he's really on, I answered, and then I'm going to act accordingly. The Stardust Renegade slid into Ceres Station's massive maintenance ring, powering down to minimal systems. Not a proper docking, that would require registration, but a blind spot I knew from my military days. I changed into station worker coveralls, applied a dermal patch to temporarily mute the blue tones in my skin, and slipped into the station through a service entrance. 3 years on the run had taught me there's always a way in if you're desperate enough. As I moved through the bustling station, memories of Tovar flooded back, his voice in the simulator as I executed my first perfect combat role, his proud smile when I graduated top of my class, his absence the night alarms blared and pure helix soldiers dragged hybrid families from their homes. "You're thinking too much like a human, Daxos," he used to say during training. "Use what makes you different. It's your strength, not your weakness." Ironic, considering what happened. I reached the administrative level and found an observation point with a clear view of the meeting room. Right on schedule, Tovar arrived. Older, grayer, but unmistakable in his military bearing. He was in civilian clothes, not a pure helix uniform. Interesting. For 2 hours, I watched him meet with station officials. His body language was tense, urgent. This wasn't a social call. When the meeting ended, I followed him, staying just far enough behind to avoid detection. He didn't go to the diplomatic quarters or the military section. Instead, he headed for the communications hub, a restricted area. Using service corridors, I positioned myself to see what he was doing. What I witnessed made no sense. He was accessing classified channels, downloading data, looking constantly over his shoulder. This wasn't a man secure in his power. This was someone afraid. I was so focused on Tovar that I almost missed the 2 figures approaching him from behind, their hands moving toward concealed weapons. Pure helix assassins. I recognized their technique from the coup. My body moved before my brain could process. I burst from my hiding place just as they drew their weapons. My blaster found its mark, stunning one assassin, while I tackled the other to the ground. Tovar spun around, shock written across his face as he recognized me. "Lyra?" he gasped. Explanations later, I snapped, dodging a knife thrust from the second assassin and delivering a precise strike to his throat. "We need to move." For a moment, I thought he might fight me or call for security. Instead, he nodded sharply, pocketed his data chip, and followed me into the service corridor. "This way," I directed, leading him through the labyrinth of maintenance tunnels I'd memorized. "How are you alive?" he asked as we moved. "The reports said all hybrid officers were executed." "Some of us are hard to kill," I replied coldly, "unlike our loyalty." He stopped abruptly, forcing me to turn and face him. "You think I joined them?" "What else was I supposed to think? You vanished the night of the coup, no warning, no help." His face darkened. "I was arrested, Lyra. Spent 6 months in isolation because I refused to give them the security codes to the orbital defense grid. When they finally broke someone else and got what they wanted, they released me, damaged goods but useful for propaganda. I've been feeding intelligence to the resistance ever since." I wanted to believe him, but 3 years as an outcast teaches you caution. "Prove it." He held up the data chip. "This is everything. Command codes, execution orders, names of every officer involved in the purge, evidence of an alliance with 3 other purist worlds, and the location of their next target." He took a breath. "General Dorn is coming here to Ceres, today, to negotiate with the station governor." My heart hammered against my ribs. Kellen Dorn, the architect of the coup, the man who had declared hybrids genetic pollution. The top name on my list. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I trained you to read people, Daxos. Look at me and tell me I'm lying." I searched his face, the face that had once been as familiar to me as my own. The lines were deeper, the eyes harder, but the steel core of the man who'd believed in me remained. "We need to get to my ship," I decided. An alarm blared overhead. My stolen access had been discovered. "This way," I said, pulling him toward the maintenance dock where the Renegade waited. We were 3 corridors away when the first Pure Helix soldiers appeared. I fired without hesitation, my blaster finding gaps in their armor that only someone with military training would know. "You're still a good shot," Tovar remarked as we took cover. "And you still talk too much during combat," I retorted, feeling a strange echo of our training days. We fought our way through 2 more checkpoints before reaching the dock. Blood was seeping through Tovar's jacket. He'd taken a hit I hadn't noticed. "Almost there," I encouraged, supporting him as his steps faltered. The Renegade was just ahead when a final squad of Pure Helix soldiers emerged from hiding. In the ensuing firefight, Tovar pushed me behind a cargo container, taking another hit that sent him sprawling. I eliminated the last soldier and rushed to his side. Too much blood, too fast. Dorn's ship, he gasped, pressing the data chip into my palm. Arriving. Upper docking ring, 1 hour. Stop him. The evidence, broadcast it. I'll get you to the medbay. No time. His hand gripped mine with surprising strength. I'm sorry, Lyra. I should have protected you, all of you. Stay with me, Commander, I ordered, falling back on military protocol to mask the sudden ache in my chest. A faint smile touched his lips. Still, giving orders to a superior officer. His gaze unfocused. Fly true, Captain. And then he was gone. I allowed myself exactly 10 seconds of grief before I closed his eyes, took his sidearm, and ran for my ship. Val, power up, I shouted as I sealed the hatch behind me. Captain, station security has locked down all departure vectors, Val informed me as I threw myself into the pilot's seat. Override protocols. Authorization Daxos 7 Echo 9. That would be highly illegal. So is shooting our way out, which is the alternative. The engines thrummed to life as I strapped in. Illegal it is, Val conceded. I broke from the maintenance dock with a maneuver that scraped paint off my ship and probably shortened the maintenance chief's life by a decade. Alarms wailed as I forced the Renegade into a spiraling ascent toward the upper docking ring. Incoming vessel at coordinate mark 7, Val announced. Military-grade cruiser, Helix Prime Registry. Dorn. I plugged Tovar's data chip into the ship's console. Val, analyze and prepare to broadcast on all frequencies. Captain, we are being targeted by the cruiser's weapons systems. Evasive pattern Delta 3. The Stardust Renegade wasn't built to take on a military cruiser, but it wasn't built to be flown by a human Seridian hybrid pilot either. Both of us were defying our limitations today. I pushed the ship into a series of maneuvers that strained both hull and pilot, diving beneath the cruiser's targeting range, then spiraling up along its blind spot. Their tracking systems were designed for larger vessels or conventional attack patterns, not a pilot with enhanced reflexes and nothing left to lose. Weapons lock on their communications array, I instructed, then fired a precision burst that disabled their ability to call for backup. The cruiser's weapons blazed in response, catching my left wing. Warning lights flooded my cockpit. Hull breach in Section 3, Val reported, sealing. I gritted my teeth, calculating vectors as naturally as breathing. Target their engine control systems, not to destroy, just disable. A second burst from my weapons found its mark. The cruiser's engines flared and died, leaving it drifting. Broadcast now, I ordered. All channels, all frequencies, include Ceres Station, the cruiser, and any ship in range. The data flowed out, irrefutable evidence of pure Helix atrocities, the names of conspirators' future targets. And at the top of every list, General Kellen Dorn. Alliance peacekeepers have acknowledged receipt of transmission, Val informed me. 4 vessels diverting to our location. I took a deep breath and aligned my damaged ship with the cruiser's emergency docking port. I'm going aboard. Captain, that is necessary, I cut in. Keep broadcasting. The docking was rough but successful. I armed myself with both my weapons and Tovar's, then cycled through the airlock onto Dorn's ship. The corridors were in chaos, crew members rushing to restore systems, alarms blaring. I moved like a ghost through the ship, using my knowledge of military vessel layouts to avoid detection. 3 stunned guards later, I reached the bridge. General Kellen Dorn stood at the command console, barking orders to restore communications. He was older than in his propaganda broadcasts, but his face was seared into my memory, the face that had announced our extinction. I disabled the final guard and stepped onto the bridge, both blasters aimed at his heart. Dorn turned slowly, recognition and then contempt crossing his features as he noted my blue-tinged skin. The aberration pilot, he said, his voice eerily calm. Daxos, wasn't it? Captain Lyra Daxos of Helix Prime Space Command, I corrected him. The one your files listed as executed. An oversight I'll have to correct. His eyes flicked to the disabled console. I assume you're here for revenge. I moved closer, one blaster never wavering from his chest. I'm here for justice. There's a difference. Justice? He scoffed. You're an evolutionary mistake. Your kind weakens the human genome with alien contamination. My kind saved more lives during the Centauri conflict than your pure-blooded squadrons ever did, I replied. And now everyone knows what you did to thank us. Understanding dawned on his face. Tovar, that traitorous? Commander Tovar died ensuring the truth would come out. I cut him off. All your atrocities, all your plans, they're being broadcast across 3 systems right now. Alliance peacekeepers are on their way. For the first time, I saw fear crack his composed facade. You've lost, General. Your movement is finished. He lunged for a concealed weapon, but my Seridian reflexes were faster. One shot, precise and disabling, sent him crumpling to the deck. Like I said, I told his semi-conscious form as I bound his hands, justice, not revenge. The Stardust Renegade limped away from Ceres Station 3 days later, patched up just enough to reach the next outpost. Alliance peacekeepers had taken custody of Dorn and his officers. Evidence from Tovar's data chip had already led to arrests on 2 other worlds. I sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the endless field of stars. For 3 years, hunting Dorn had consumed me. Now that it was over, what remained? My communication panel lit up with incoming messages, 3, 5, dozen, more pouring in by the minute. Hybrids across the systems, reaching out after seeing the broadcasts. Some offering thanks, others asking for help. Captain, Val's voice interrupted my thoughts. These messages require response protocols. What are your instructions? I picked one at random and opened it. A Seridian human family on an outer colony being threatened by local purists, seeking protection. 3 years ago, I'd been a decorated pilot with a spotless record, then an outcast, a renegade. Now, something else was taking shape, something with purpose. I plotted a course for the outer colony. We've got work to do, Val, I said, feeling the familiar hum of engines beneath me. Let's fly.